This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and good evening to the December 28th, 2023 Selectmen's Meeting. Last Selectmen's Meeting of the year. So if we all stand and say pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we have 3 selectmen present, enough for a quorum. I believe Selectman Constantino will be joining us online. And I
Scott
don't
is,
see. Okay, so she's there.
Chairman Scanlon Scott is stuck in traffic. He'll be late.
Okay, so and Selectman Ruggles will be arriving as soon as he frees himself from the traffic. Do you know if there's a way to display who's online?
It certainly is, but
That I don't.
It's something to do
I
with
don't
it.
know how it's
Okay.
done.
Yeah,
So-
all you need to, I can explain. It's
Sure.
on the screen. You'll see at the top right corner a little multiple people. Click that and you'll see another panel show up. Thank you, Helen.
Excellent.
You're awesome.
Let's see. And it looks like there's a few people online. Excellent. So the first thing we have, what's scheduled for 5 p.m. Maybe we can wait a few minutes and see if Scott shows up and also process.
I have something
Fine.
really quick as health officer.
Oh, that would be great.
So I got a call this morning and on Murphy Lane.
Can you?
Oh.
Thank you.
On Murphy Lane. Does everybody know where Murphy Lane is?
Yes.
It's Paul, it's down by the lake.
Right.
Um,
From the right.
just before the causeway on the right,
Yeah.
where the Route 3 crosses. I guess this has happened before. I think it's an ongoing thing. One resident is going across the street and taking the trash can from a building that has more than one dwelling unit and filling it up with trash and then bringing it back across the street.
They don't have a can?
Oh, they have a can. They're just producing more trash than the can will take. They've also tried to put out a can that is not one of ours. It's Waste Management's, and of course we don't pick up other than, and then we only pick up one unless you pay to have another can. Or you can bring it down there. So my problem is thinking about it. I mean, I don't mind going down there and telling them it's a violation of our trash ordinance because he's only supposed to have one can, but nobody has seen the resident do this. They're making assumptions based on the
Trash
cart's
down there?
been seen at that property and it comes back full, et cetera, et cetera. I've looked through our trash ordinance. The only retribution is a fine. It's a pretty hefty fine. It was suggested to me that we say, if this continues, we'll no longer pick trash up at your property. You'll have to deliver it to the town garage. But our ordinance doesn't allow that. It only allows for the fine. So,
Technically, I don't think it says you can't steal somebody else's can, does it?
no, it doesn't say that, but it does say that one dwelling unit, one can.
Well, there you go. Maybe
And-
that
and-
covers it.
And quite frankly, Joe, that is another issue. I mean, I'm not sure what the health officer has to do with somebody running across the street and taking somebody else's can. I mean, as a selectman, I don't mind going down there with the board's permission and saying,
Code
hey,
enforcement, maybe?
stop doing this.
Don't we
Would
have a
not be-
list? Don't we have a list of dwellings with serial numbers on the trash receptacles?
We did initially.
We did initially, but about 10 years ago, when I went to get the list to deal with things like this, the list was not followed. It's no longer usable.
You know what, Tony, when we got the cans from Pennard, Tony brought those cans personally on a little flatbed and he wrote the numbers
Yep.
down. So maybe Tony has a copy.
No, I talked,
Wait.
that's who called me. No, I already talked to him. He gave those numbers to the town
Oh,
and the town never
if there's some.
followed with them. And I even checked it with my own. So I don't know whose can I have, but the number on my can doesn't belong to 416 Laconia Road. That was 10 years ago.
So probably a letter to them or to let them know that it's a fine. And
We don't know they did it.
well,
Somebody
if they're
said
caught,
they did it.
if they're caught.
Oh, if they're caught, sure.
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to send it to more than one resident. So I got a
The whole-
bullseye. I'm going to kind of send it to
Yeah,
butters
yeah.
because I don't want to pick on one. But I brought this up to the board because I really think it's also a police matter. I mean, they're going across the street and essentially stealing somebody else's property, as Joe said. And the other thing is we might want to look at this and
Add to it.
add to it, make it a little stronger about the one can, one property, and that doesn't mean you get to go to your neighbors and use their cans.
She just brought it to the other.
I don't
property.
know, you can see the quandary.
Well, I would say send out the letter, in my opinion.
I agree with you, so, I mean, that's what I'm going to do, but
Yeah.
like I said, we might want to take a look at that, strengthen it. Or thank you.
Game cameras are pretty cheap.
Hmm?
Yeah, that's what Joe suggested.
Don't we have a poll camera somewhere? We paid 25 grand for that.
We have a camera on a telephone pole in front of
Don't say
Riverfront
where
Park.
it's in
Good
front
night.
of.
Well, everybody knows it's there, you
Oh.
can't miss it.
Well, I'm glad to hear they put it up somewhere.
And I'm sure we have portable ones. I know the police do. But they
They
Yeah,
have
they-
one real serious one we paid 25 grand for. And last I knew it was in a box in a closet.
oh, that's not the one at Riverfront Park.
No,
That was a couple
no,
Joe.
thousand.
this is a super
Joe.
camera.
I think it's
You don't want me talking about the camera, then I won't.
okay. So sure, we're gonna have some public comment on this.
I just want to duly note there's a state law that requires you to post publicly if you're recording. And so you have cameras wherever you have them. I'm happy to email the statute. Sorry. Helen Hanks, resident town of Tilton. I just wanted to inform the selectmen there is a state law that requires you to actually post that you're recording. So if you add another camera or you have cameras that are publicly recording people, it is to be posted that people are being recorded, especially if there's an audio recording component.
Thanks.
It'll just sit there.
Thanks, Helen.
Anything else? So the issue on Pest House Road is being dealt with. There was somebody that put rocks blocking off the road, and a resident had sent some text messages out, emails or something. But I did report to the police. They went up and investigated it, and they're having the DPW remove the rocks appropriately. A resident had offered to remove them, but he told them they shouldn't, because if they broke their tractor doing it, we would have a $30,000 rock or something, you know. So that should be all set, and that was Officer Ort, and we'll thank him for doing it.
Except we don't maintain that road,
But
and we don't want to set a precedence of Public Works doing work on that road.
well,
Nobody can block that road. It's still, it's
So we-
subject to gates and bars,
Right, but the
but not
point,
in that location.
I'm just saying we need to be careful
Mhm.
about what Public Works does up there. Because it's non-maintained.
yes, but this is a rock about half the size of this table that was
know, I
put there
saw
to
the
block it.
pictures.
And the idea is to
Boulders.
keep it open, emergency or whatever, but somebody had done it wrongfully.
We should find out why they're doing it, because if there's, vandalism taking place up there, if, people are trying to drive through with four-wheel drives, whatnot, we should know. Because it is a town road.
So the last time it came up, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, it was that a neighbor had done it because people were driving up through there, and they didn't see a reason why people were actually driving on that road.
I don't either, but we can't block it off.
We can put a gate
Well, we could, but they can't.
to bar motor vehicle traffic.
Hmm.
But that's what I mean. So we shouldn't drop the ball on it. If they're continuing, there must still be a problem.
Hmm.
And if you've ever been the length of Pest House Road,
Walked it.
I'll bet you can't right now. With
no,
all
I'll
this
bet you
mud.
can't either. I'll bet that beaver dam up there is a river over the road. In fact, I bet it's washed out.
You could barely get to the end on the other end. It's all mud and nasty.
Yeah. I've been through that on horseback many times.
Hmm.
But
Way to go.
we should think about gating it. If people are truly trying to drive up through there, they're gonna, cause a lot of problems.
Okay, it's pretty close to the 5 p.m. time, and we're going to have Helen Hanks, the moderator, on a discussion on the upcoming election. If Moderator Hanks would like to come up. The last thing I knew, they wouldn't be able to go and putting the cover down on the floor till 7:30 p.m. So, how does that mess with you?
So I don't know if people saw the email I sent several weeks ago, a standard email I've sent to the selectmen before. So I just want to call people's attention to that. And then when, at the time, Jeannie briefed that that room would not be available until it appeared even 8 p.m. That's a concern. That's a concern simply because I just want to bring everyone's attention. Myself, the town clerk, and some other people will be in that building from 6:30 a.m. until whenever we are done hand counting. And that's a long, long day. And then as a moderator, you have to go in and make sure the room is set up. So not being in the room to even start setting up until 7:30 p.m. is quite frankly exhausting. I do have a full-time job. This is not I do this with civics in mind. So it's really, if the public works individuals are going to set up the room, there's also signage and other things that have to be placed. And the accessible booth needs to be prepared in at least popped up and then initiated in the morning. There's all these other things, and it's just unfortunate that we're going to be in that room that late. Really, ideally, we need to find a different location that we're not dealing with these late times. This is not the first time this has happened, and we've sort of kicked that conversation down the road. We've vetted a couple of different locations that aren't, everybody says it's not ideal. Well, I think looking for ideal is unrealistic, given that even when the police department was established in the community room, there is really not a community room when you have to go through a secured door, and it's not designed with that type of event in mind. So, I mean, I'm not going to be in the gym until, midnight and then expected to come at 6:30 a.m. and then work for 14 plus hours, which is normal for an election day. And then given obviously that this is a presidential primary and we can anticipate a large number of people coming out and a large number of handwritten votes, it's going to take a long day. So if this is where we are because the primary is on the 23rd, I need to understand who's setting up the room and then how are we going to, I wouldn't suggest to change the setup with one minor exception. I think we need to consider having 3 ballot clerk tables, given even looking back when Trump and the Clinton primary, there was a large voter turnout. Joe will remember that one.
I do.
And we set up 3 ballot clerk tables. That would be the differentiating factor. So I need to hear from the selectmen how you're going to prep the room.
Do we have the list of what tables, et cetera, we need there?
I'm sure we do. Public Works does because they bring them.
Right. I've never had a problem since the public works team's been involved bringing everything. The only, minor things that really Joe and I catch in the morning is putting up the 200-foot line. And
Yeah,
those are
which is
morning
my
things.
usual thing.
It's really just making sure the layout is right. And sometimes it's really an adjustment that looks moderate, but if we don't have a place for challengers and we don't put the public in the right place, and all of a sudden the rope is behind the polling booths, which means a voter can stand behind a polling booth while somebody's in the booth, that is not how we set up the room.
So let's start with the list. We can't, I know there's a list somewhere because I
I'm sure
was one
Public
of the ones
Works
that
has.
created
remember
it.
seeing
The
the
problem
map and-
is
yeah.
our public works director is gone, so maybe there is a list down in public works, but who knows where it is. We have a new moderator. Have you seen the list for our election? No. So there may be a file.
But I can ask.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll
Let's
ask
start
Pete
there
and
with the
Jenny, yeah.
list, and then that means we have to add a table or two to it. Make sure the school has that list. The other thing is we've got to schedule public works on the 22nd to be at that gym with all the stuff to be setting up at 7:30.
What are the alternatives? Let's go right to alternatives, if any.
The only semi-viable location that I have seen was the church, and I don't even know if that's still available. I
Tilton Center.
Yeah.
know that
You've been talking to them, or at least in the past.
I know that some individuals have kicked around whether we speak to Tilton School. I don't know.
We were, because we're completely in session with
Yeah,
full
that
athletics,
would
et
be-
cetera. It would not be able to happen.
I have had people kick around the discussion of the Public Works building. I will tell you right now, I will not sit in the Public Works building for 12 plus hours. Simply, I'm not capable of sitting in an automotive type setting that long. No disparagement to our Public Works team. They are fantastic people, but I'm not going to run an election in that building.
There's fumes and whatnot,
Yeah.
and dust, and
Yeah.
no.
Is the senior center big enough?
No,
I think the challenge there,
Parking.
Pat, is the parking. I think the physical interior is big enough. I think the parking is the challenge.
Or we would share the parking with the Awakening?
I don't think we can
No.
count on taking parking from a private business.
And
Okay.
Helen, this is Tim. I know you said earlier about the secure door at the PD. That can be disabled. I don't know if that makes any difference, but it sounded like the room wasn't sufficient either.
If there's an in and an out, that might be a viable option. It's just a tighter space, and I worry about the lines of waiting. That's the only thing I worry about at the PD community building when I think and visualize the lines of waiting. And let's just talk about, it is going to be January. We're eventually going to have this beautiful thing called snow. I don't know that we want 3 alphabetical lines of waiting
Outside.
outside.
when we tried to set up the PD, the problem we're having is because we have to have that area for spectators outside the ropes. It just wasn't working.
I think that Tim, I appreciate the offer of the door being open. I really think it's the lines of waiting. We don't generally have a large quantity of spectators.
But we have to still have to provide the
Sure.
space.
Yeah, we only put about 6 chairs in the spectator space.
Yeah.
And the PD still has to be able to do business in that lobby.
Exactly.
Isn't
Yeah.
there 2 spectator spots?
Those are challenger spots, Joe. Those are different.
The ones in the corner are challenger spots, but there was a little triangle down near the ballot box,
Yep.
so people could watch.
I'm gonna correct you again. That space you're referencing, the bigger space is the public spot. The triangular space is called the challenger spot.
Yep.
Because each political party can send a designated challenger. That's why there was only a singular chair there in those triangles, and they can see directly and hear the ballot clerks. Whereas that larger rectangular space with the 6 chairs is the public spot.
I named it wrong, certainly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, and I kind of knew that.
Is that right?
But we still have to have one.
Correct. Yep.
So we need 2 spots at the police station. One for the challenger and
Yep.
one for the
And-
general public.
And again, the challenger spot is purposely within, I believe it's 6 feet or less of the ballot clerk
Mhm.
station, whereas the public observer spot can be further away.
Mhm.
It has to be outside the ropes.
Right.
Do we have a map of the layout?
I provided one twice. I've provided one twice. I don't have any suggested changes, again, aside from if we add a third ballot clerk table.
Paul, that would be another thing to look for. We must have an election folder down there.
Paul, if you
One would
cannot
think.
find it, please let me know.
I will.
I know I have a copy.
Back from the Cindy days.
What are you looking for?
The map. I have several, but
No, I don't believe you were a selectman when I handed this proposed map out, and I know that the Public Works team
no,
had
I
a
was an
copy of it.
assistant moderator. I've been demoted.
What's the chances of getting the Boughton Center? They've got parking, they've got handicapped access. I know what the inside of it looks like, and it's not town meeting spot now, but for getting them in and getting them out.
For an election, it would be fine.
I
They did a lot of work. When we first looked at it, it wasn't viable because of ADA accessibility.
Yeah.
And they got funding and did that work.
Yeah.
Again, I do think that location has the same waiting challenge for people waiting to vote, but you do have the parking, which is realistic. The gym is a great location. The high school gym is a great location. You control the in, you control the out. It's a great location.
That lobby.
But just that late time is a challenge.
And no way at the middle school. I know what they said before.
I wouldn't recommend the middle school, both if I
They
threw a
won't let
public
us in the
safety
middle
hat
school.
on, or the location.
Yeah, they won't let us in the middle school. Well, it behooves us, we know the dates of the
If
other 3 elections. So are there 4 elections this year or 3?
4. There are 4 elections. There's the presidential primary on January 23rd. There's our town election, then our town meeting. There's the state primary on September 10th.
That's what I'm missing.
And then there is the general election on November 5th.
So we should reserve those dates with the school now,
Oh, absolutely.
because they can, I'm sure they don't have a schedule for the fall sports activities. If we reserve those dates now.
I would be remiss if I did not say out loud, I think we are where we are with the school and need to use it for the 23rd. We have not noticed the voters with enough time to shift the polling location.
That's the biggest
No, but in the
downside.
meantime, while we are thinking about finding another location, we should reserve those dates with the school. We can always
Yeah.
cancel, but
Yeah.
reserve the dates, including town meeting.
Hmm.
Second Tuesday of March. So
I know I volunteered to help out, starting at being there at 6. I mean 7 o'clock, so that as soon as it's done or they have enough plastic down to help out, and I'll stay there till it closes, but it doesn't affect, because after it's done, that's when you would have to be done. So come in. So
we also have to let the moderator know how many selectmen are going to be there and How
Yeah.
long?
I just need a response to the email. The other, and I know you will respond. And the other, if you have a pro tem, who that is, I did have a suggestion. This is obviously just a suggestion. Um, there are going to be a number of elections, and I believe we will have a high voter turnout. And I don't think I'm being naive when I say that. And this is a compliment, and it is not a dig on selectmen that make different choices, but when I see selectmen actually participating as greeters and things of that nature, I do suggest, because we do pay the other individuals who are working, that the town consider selectmen who are there performing an election function, like a greeter, 200-foot checker, things like that. I would suggest we pay selectmen who are doing that, I'm throwing out a number, $150 stipend for the day if they've been doing it for 6 hours or more, because the other individuals that are working that I've hired on behalf of the town as ballot clerks and greeters and all of those individuals are making a proportion unless they volunteer to do so. And some individuals who want to perform their selectman function, which is to watch the election, that's fine. But if somebody's going to fulfill an election role, given how difficult it is to get people to participate in an election, I think there should be a consideration to give people an additional stipend above and beyond what you normally get a selection, because as a moderator and even as an assistant moderator, it does add significant value to the day. So something for you to consider.
I have always considered it a privilege to be that guy.
Yeah.
And you've known me for a while
I know.
now. I'm pretty much always that guy.
Well, and I appreciate it,
best
but
greeter.
also acknowledge that if you weren't that guy, I would need to hire someone to be that guy or gal. And I do think it's an important acknowledgement that some people can choose to, again, fulfill the role as selectman by watching the election, and some people choose to step in and perform a more significant role in the day that impacts a larger portion of the election day success. And I also think it's important to note we've been both randomly audited and audited pursuant to just the AccuVote machine. And as a community, we've passed those audits, and that is a testament to both the people working all day long and assisting in that hand counting and just checking, and our town clerk and everyone. And it's a testament to the credibility of how we manage elections in our community. Again, I just offer that suggestion.
Having been there 11, 12 years or whatever, I have nothing but the utmost confidence that our elections are right and fair.
And then just as a reminder, I understand that a lot of people at the end of the day want to go home, but the selectmen have a responsibility to sign the tape on the ballot boxes that get sealed. And I think having more than one selectman sign those ballot boxes is incredibly important, and we need to just slow down and make sure we do that and do it correctly.
So what do we think? We're gonna have to stick with the gym.
I think so. I think the public has
this
not
point.
received enough notice.
We've seen when we've switched it before, it can be.
If we're going to switch it, we need to give people at least 2 months advance notice and a lot of advertising, a lot of community awareness.
Not this presidential primary.
But not.
I don't think that
I
would
don't
be
think that'd be a good idea.
No matter what else we did.
The other components are to speak to the high school. They usually provide us a wheelchair for ADA accessibility, and that's usually right outside the door, and to make sure that we can get into the building. I usually get there at 6:15 a.m. And then obviously take the rest from there.
And the other,
When you talk to the school about those dates, will you reiterate to them that we need the access the evening before and not as early as possible?
Not at 7:30 at night, yeah.
Yeah, 3:00 would be great.
so the next thing is we're going to be bringing the stuff over. Can we stage it somewhere at there prior to their game?
Yeah.
Have,
Maybe you could
so
put
the
it in the
public works,
cafetorium.
whether it's
We've been-
cafetorium on the stage or a roped off
Stage.
part of the
That's a
hall
good idea.
stage.
Space on the stage.
Good idea.
If Public Works is
Did everybody
delivering
hear
all of
Selectman
this,
Ruggles' comment? I think the stage is a great idea.
if Public Works is bringing this with them at 7:30, why not just
They
bring it
might
in?
be able to bring it earlier though, before the game begins. They could bring it and put it on the stage and literally stage it.
That'll save them time at 7:30
Yeah,
at
because
night.
then it's just setup as opposed to unloading and setup.
Correct.
So,
Because we can have a lot of people setting up and only a minimum number of people unloading from the
Yeah,
trucks
because
and
we
carrying
can-
from
They
out.
still
If-
have to unload it.
yeah, if the things are there,
During the day. They could do it during the day.
yeah, if the things are
They're
there,
not going to
then
be there to set up.
No, you're missing the point,
I
I
am
think,
missing the point because
that they can use some time during the day in a coordinated effort with the school to bring the things in and put them on the stage. So then the setup is actually more swift than unloading late at night.
Especially if we get some inclement weather.
Correct.
I like to touch things once, not 2 or 3 times. Sorry, just me.
That's all right.
Think
7:30
of
PM.
weather and all that too.
that's another thing
Hat
too.
gloves.
That's another thing too with the weather. If it looks inclement, I think we'll need, because we, obviously, the municipality does not take care of those parking lots.
Right.
So making sure that their contractor, whoever does it, is aware that
True.
they need to get it cleared.
Although on election day, Public Works does pass
Yes.
through
Yes.
because it's
Okay.
a town
Yep.
election.
Okay.
And then I know all of us have shoveled the paths,
Yes.
and as well as the
I'm not that guy.
as well as the as
I've-
well as the staff at the school. I know.
I've been that guy.
Yeah.
I have to, but I'm not.
And wiped
that
off
guy
the
anymore.
signs,
Yeah.
put the pen caps back on. So
I don't even do it at my house. I'm not going to do it at the school. Sorry.
So it sounds like a plan. We'll do the high school.
We'll put our part in, get our part going, and I'll be there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I'll be droopy-eyed, but I'll do it. So we can try and meet there towards like 7 o'clock or so. So as
Yeah.
soon as they're done.
Yeah,
we're going. Well, it's all dependent on when they get the tarp down.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think
and then
it's
go
a-
from there.
good idea to see what coordination can happen during the day, so Public Works can stage the items. It will be much more
and,
swiftly.
having been part of the tarp crew before, I can lend a hand with.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Is that woman still there?
Say again?
Not Rob, but there was a shorter woman.
Michelle? Michelle?
Michelle. She's still with the school?
As far as I know,
Well,
she'd be a huge
she's gonna
loss
be
if
a
she
valuable
wasn't.
asset because she's done all this before.
She's amazing.
Very helpful.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is.
I mean, Rob Barry's excellent.
He
between the
always
two of
helped
them.
us.
We've got it covered.
Thought he was no longer there.
He what?
I thought I heard Rob Berry wasn't there anymore.
So
I just did an
I
inspection of
appreciate
the
this
school.
dialogue,
Then
but I have
never
a
mind.
household full of guests in town. so
I think we're all set.
Talk about
We're all
Rob
set.
while I'm gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
No, happy to be here.
We have a busy election year coming up.
Mhm. Thank you, everyone.
I'll call you
Thank
so you
you.
can put the water on for tea.
Thanks, Helen.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Okay.
So in the meantime, we're truly going to consider another location. We should probably take a second look at the Booton Center with tape measure.
Yeah. And a piece of paper to see how it works.
And we can sketch it out.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year
Thank
to
you,
Helen.
Okay. So looking at the agenda, we have 6 p.m. for Caliph Hill reconstruction project. It's not public hearing or anything, so I think we can start right in on that, or
Yep.
I think everybody got a copy of that. And it's in the front of the binders.
Yes, it
is.
is.
It
is, John. Yes. Yeah.
It is?
Mhm.
Where?
Your front page. Way
Right directly in the front on the top.
It wasn't.
Oh,
but I think I found it from, it
That's
still has
That's
red
it.
on it. Is
Yes,
this
it's red.
Yeah,
That's it,
yeah,
yes.
it? A week or two ago. So we are the project sponsor, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
The construction, engineering costs. The project sponsor shall manage the design, environmental study, right-of-way acquisition, and construction of the project. I read this before in something else. So I'm presuming that we're going to hire somebody to do that for us.
clerk of the works type guy.
Right.
I would be in favor of that. I don't know if anybody right offhand, but I'm sure they're out there. Now, the engineering company also provides those kind of services. Is that correct? For hire?
I don't know, but you'd be having a company oversee itself, if you will.
Yep.
So,
I think you're going to want an independent that has no
I'd be okay with
skin
that.
in the game, as they say.
so on page 2, second page, is it E? Does that include? I'm a little confused on the writing of that, where it says consultants and contractors for the performance of the work.
Where are you?
Letter E on the second page, so it's on the back of the first page.
Yeah. You mean where we submit invoices?
Yeah.
That's typical.
Yeah.
So does that include, a clerk of the works in there, or is it,
We've got a
you as a
certain amount of money,
consultant,
John.
as a consultant?
So
We have
think
more
about project
than 100.
sponsor. When you see that, just write in the town of Tilton.
Yeah.
And then we can decide, what part of these responsibilities we're going to hire somebody to do.
Yeah, what I was looking at says reimbursement of its share of the amounts paid to engineering, environmental, right-of-way consultants, and construction contractors for the performance of the work set forth and agreed upon at the scoping meeting. So is that contractors for the performance of the work?
Say it again?
Would that be a contractor for performance, let's see, of the
Could be, I
work?
think. If
Could
we
be.
hired somebody, they'd be a
Could
contractor.
be, yeah.
We'll have to get that clarified, but
And-
that sounds logical.
Yeah, and agreed upon at the scoping meeting. So I was trying to figure out when they would reimburse the $100,000+
So
minus.
usually, and I can only go by the Silver Lake Road project that I was involved in. Um,
How many years?
and Tim was here for that too.
Mhm.
2008. Is he still online?
Yeah.
I see his name up there.
Yes, I am.
I said it, I'm sorry. Um, it's usually, you give them an invoice and it's like 30 days or something. And I'm surprised there isn't any language in here about the turnaround time. They were,
It,
I don't think they, go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say it was pretty prompt.
It was
Hmm.
prompt.
Yeah, the money is set aside already, so it's just a matter of drawing on it, really.
Yep. The project sponsor agrees to commence the project at least 2 years prior to the program year of advertisement. Isn't that 2006?
2026.
I mean, 2026. See, 2008 stuck in my head. So that means in 24. So starting the project must be the engineering part as well, must be considered part of the project,
I
right?
bet you it is.
It would have to be.
The amended agreement. Maybe a minute.
And I have to ask, has a lawyer looked this contract over? A $3 million contract.
That I don't know the answer to,
Mm.
but I
Tim,
can.
Tim,
Can we?
I'm thinking. I
We
feel like in the very beginning we did have someone look at it, but honestly, I'm a little foggy right now, so I'd have to look it up. I'm sure Paul probably has a record of it in his office.
have you looked at it?
I think Paul was going.
Can I just refresh the board's memory of November the 9th? You had a visit from Kevin Russell of DOT and Brian Colburn of McFarland Johnson. And he was going to put forward a scope of fee to be the project, to handle it. And I don't know where that stands with the board. I don't know. It's in the packet. It's certainly, it was dated July 28th, so it's been a while.
This was the issue. The biggest issue we had at that time, and they came and we talked about was if we spent the money on the engineering costs and decided not to go forward with the project in the original agreement, we
Right.
were not going to get reimbursed those costs if we decided that, no, we can't afford this, it's too much.
Right.
They
Well,
changed it.
yeah,
They
Yeah.
changed
I
it
was,
Changed it. Yeah.
to reflect that if we spent the money in the engineering costs and we changed our minds, we'd get reimbursed.
Correct.
The other part of that was that if the engineering costs, we looked at their proposal and felt that wasn't complete enough, that didn't address a lot of issues on it. So we decided that we'd like to go over the 100,000 if necessary to have an adequate
Right.
engineering done.
Right.
In particular, the drainage, we found it was
Right.
not, there was no real basis for their information.
And I believe this takes care of it.
This allows us to go over the 100.
Joe, to answer your question from earlier, I had gone through the original agreement in detail, and some of those concerns I know were brought up. The most recent agreement, I just had a glimpse at. I didn't have a copy of. So, but I understood that the state had basically done everything that the board had asked for. But I have not seen the wording itself, no.
It's pretty basic. Should the project sponsor decline to initiate the construction, the department will reimburse the project sponsor for the engineering costs. And they're not limiting us to the 100,000. Like you look in the,
Initial one.
if you
They
look
struck
at the
every
back of
single.
the second
yeah,
page and read C in the red, you'll see
They struck every
that's
section.
what they struck out and
Yeah.
changed the language.
Correct.
At a cost not to exceed 100,000 to be allocated.
My understanding is if we do not go forward with this, even though they've increased the amount, we've increased the amount to have more detailed engineering done at the beginning. My understanding is they're going to come back with a price of what this project is going to entail. At that point in time, we can say yay or nay to the project. And at that time, they said they will give us back the money if we say no to the project.
Mhm.
Correct?
Yeah.
So we're not losing any money at this point except to find what the project's going to entail. Is it going to encompass all that we want it to encompass? Is it going to take care of all of the drainage issues that we have on Caleb Hill? And going back not just to a visual on drainage issues, but going back to an engineering level on some of the issues. And on granite, along with the going down a couple of levels for the granite, so it just doesn't come up in 10 years up through the asphalt. Excuse me, I'm done. I can't talk anymore. Thanks.
Mhm. So one of my big concerns is that if, we go and end up putting out $125,000 and they take their time on paying us back, and then we're paying interest on $125,000 that can be held out for, who knows, 2 years or something.
Well, it's like Tim said, they, in the other projects that we've had, the Silver Lake Road project, they paid us pretty promptly.
Wasn't there one that they didn't pay for quite a while, about
That
15,
was,
20 years ago?
that had to do with the old town dump, wasn't it, Tim? There's something about the old,
Yes. Yeah, it was the closure of that.
that's right.
Yeah, but there was also a period where Governor Lynch at the time had frozen um, some revenues for towns. So I can't remember if it was one or the other, but yeah, that closure did take a while to recoup the money. But I think that was also partly the fault of the town. We had a point where we probably should have followed up more, in the very early years, and somehow it got lost.
Tim found it. But this, as Tim said earlier, these funds are dedicated to this project. It's not like they can use them for something else and say, oh, well, we use that, we have to get more money. These are dedicated specifically to this project. So I agree with Tim, there shouldn't be any problem.
Well, I can speak from recent experience. We put in a new water system off the unit at Lockmere Village on Beach Street, all the way down the street and whatever. And they have promptly paid every invoice that we have submitted without an issue. We had the same dedicated funds, a
Nice.
different department within the state, but I've had good luck with them recently.
So do you want to have this final copy reviewed by our attorney, I'm thinking, and then,
I'm kind of with Joe on that one.
what's that?
I hate attorneys. They cost too much.
I don't know if we need it, John. They made every
we're
change
not
that
getting
we
reimbursed on it.
required.
Well, that's
We
what,
had somebody look at the original
Send them a
one
bill
and
for it?
suggest change.
Throw
They
that
made
in.
the changes.
and they made those suggestions.
They've made
Throw
the
it back on.
changes. I mean, I'm hesitant to sign it just because $3 million, $3 million, but the people on Caleb Hill need relief.
It's
I'm
not,
convinced of that. And this is the way, there's no other way to do it.
but it's not the full commitment to the 3 million. It's that because of the codicil
get it.
in there that,
They have changed this so
Yes.
that we are not going to lose any taxpayers' dollars on this project.
Mhm.
I get it.
We get the engineering study,
and then
and
that's,
then that's when we sit down and go, okay.
Yep.
Is this a good project? And that's when we have a public hearing that's noticed very well.
Yeah,
and given an extensive block of time.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's when we really have to sit down and think about it.
Anything else from Pat? Any comments?
I agree. I think we should go forward. It's just a means of getting the numbers back to us in an agreement of what they're going to do.
Time to start the process.
Anything, Paul, that with your experience, anything?
I think this is a win-win.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to agree. This is definitely a win-win.
So
Um,
somebody want to make a motion to,
Can I make a comment,
Sure.
please, John? As it just requires one signature, which tonight would be
Yeah.
the vice chair, just for the sake of the minutes, could the other board members make a consensus that you will be the person to sign it?
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
correct.
Yes,
Please.
yes.
I was thinking to have Joe do it.
Do we have a clean copy of this to sign currently?
This is it. This is well, I've got an original. I mean, it's the same as yours, I think.
It's got the red on it and what have you? All right, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it points
We're
out.
going to make a motion to
We
have
put the
John
dates in
Scanlon
it.
You can
sign
put the
that on
dates.
behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Second? There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay, so we have a
John.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed? It's so
If I was-
moved.
That was John Scanlon, I'd say.
Yeah, now I know why Pat wasn't here. I just
Okay.
signed for
So,
$3.2 million.
well, the thing is, we haven't actually taken a vote to approve the contract. We only had a vote to have John sign the contract.
That's right.
Well, by signing the contract, we're agreeing to it,
Well, I want to make sure all you guys agree. Not, I'm just signing.
So
Motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract as presented.
Ruggles second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 I'm going to decline to vote. That was
Opposed?
just too strange. I'm sorry.
So
that's not an
moved.
abstention, I declined to vote.
Pat,
Okay.
I didn't hear you vote.
okay.
Okay. So that's,
That's a yes?
Yes.
All right, there you go.
okay. 4 and 1 declined to vote. So I'm going to date this,
So where do we stand with the engineering now? We never accepted that.
No.
Because of this.
Yep.
So now we've got to go back to that.
He's got to come back with I mean, we know what this is, but what we've also identified in terms of drainage, et cetera. So I think they need to come back with some addendums or whatever it is, just in terms of where
I
they're going to
would,
go
I
with
would
it.
like that to make
To
it,
have him come back?
yeah, so that it's very clear what our expectations are.
Because now, you know, we don't have a blank slate, but we're not saddled by $100,000.
Yeah, we're not
There-
limited.
There can be a
But
little more
remember that
extent.
money comes out of the
Correct.
money that's proposed to fix the road.
Yeah.
Correct.
Pat and was saying.
That was part of the agreement. That was, excuse me, That was part of the agreement when we were talking to the department DOT, when we said they increased the amount that the engineers would come back and.
Thought I had it. I guess I don't. All right.
Well done, John.
I think it's in my car.
It's amazing. It's a lot more money, but a lot less paper than the mortgage.
Yeah.
To the mortgage. It took
You're
me
looking
half
for
an
a
hour
little
to
more
sign.
heft.
I just signed 3.25 million,
That's pretty
and it
funny.
was
It's
a
got
signature.
your name on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you started to sweat yet, John?
A little.
Uh, as long as it's a long-term mortgage, I'll take care of it sooner or later.
So John, you'd like me to contact Brian Colburn and ask him to, well, when he sees this and understands what's happened now with DOT, he'll want to come back in anyway
Yes,
and revise his scope and fee.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks.
Okay. The next thing we have on here is new business. We don't have any other encumbrances or anything like that that we have to deal with. And I think, not that I know of anyway, I'm going to assume that.
I have something.
Okay.
I
I'm
think
gonna-
that you all.
Tim didn't have anything else for new encumbrances. And,
No, I didn't.
okay. And Pat, go ahead.
We need to start thinking about the town dedication of the town annual report and in memoriam. And I do have a suggestion for in memoriam. That would be Elaine Grace. She's been a member of the planning board, the chat committee, and was instrumental in building the senior center to what it is. So we ought to start thinking about that, and we're going to put it on the agenda for January 4th to make a decision. So start thinking about your decisions, okay?
Thank you, Pat.
All right.
And did you have any, oh, well, I
You
should have
got-
introduced, this is
oh.
Paul's first meeting here with us, and we want to thank him for being here as interim town administrator. Thanks, Paul. Yeah,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here. You've got a lot of things to sign tonight
Yeah, we'll go through those.
in your signature file.
Why don't we go, and I didn't pass it down. We can go through
Never
these.
start with John with the signature file. Just
Is anybody online? Got any comments?
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, we have, let's see, some abatements.
Do we have a lot of or I shouldn't say a lot. Do we have applications that have come in for our open positions?
Yes, in there you'll see a DPW one, a new one.
I'm going to pass FYI's.
Gentleman from New Jersey, Catherine.
This one?
So I've acknowledged receipt of it.
Oh,
The one on your right hand, just the pages on your right hand. Yeah.
Looks like he put copies of his report in FYI for everybody, John.
Okay. So normally to adjourn, but if a question comes up.
Oh, yeah. So we don't have to be in session to sign these.
no.
Well, if a question comes up on something, that would be a public possible.
True enough.
Mostly the abatements from our avatar.
So the little bit of scanning I did for this former Ernie site, does that mean they're going to continue?
Yes, that was, yeah,
Yeah.
that was, yes, yeah.
What is that, Captain?
It's the groundwater
ground
sampling for the
testing.
former Ernie's.
Yeah, yeah.
Arsenic.
Those are the results,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Well, it's
there
not gonna
is
go
arsenic
anywhere.
that is natural in the ground
Yeah,
anyway,
it's not
so
going to go anywhere.
it never,
At some point, they really have to decide that and let
It's a
us
natural-
go.
The
But
other
this is
thing-
FYI.
we're gonna have to take a look at is
You can take a copy. They make copies.
Oh,
the
all the
take
same.
one and pass it along.
situation at Mike's Auto that we sent a cease and desist to,
Yes.
a letter that still ongoing.
I mean, they haven't ceased and desist.
No,
Last
And
time I was
expanded.
down there, it looked like maybe it was an annex for Chuck Drew. It's terrible behind there.
it's
I didn't
actually,
mean it like
ex-
that, Chuck. That
No.
Chuck Cruz is terrible, but there's a lot of stuff back there that's beyond their site plan.
we made a
Code
decision
enforcement.
to do that, I think, a couple months ago.
Should have been done already. I never followed up on it.
It's
But
actually kind of expanded. So they never got a site plan done or anything. And
They've never come in for a site plan. We gave them a cease and desist, which they haven't adhered to,
Mhm.
and nobody's enforcing it and following up on it.
I think we'd have to look at the writing of the letter. Maybe we should plan that for next week and take a look at the, how the wording of the letter that was sent out to them and multiple notices.
Was that been sent out by the code enforcement officer?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was sent out by land use.
Yeah, which
By
is.
Leanne, yeah.
it's the
Not by
same
the-
department, though.
seemed to-
Right, okay.
Not by the building inspector.
Now, no.
Mike's order, okay.
Almost done here. This could be a
Scott, you
record.
could start those.
This could be a record.
This fellow would have a very long commute to work.
A New Jersey guy?
Yeah.
Well, he did say that he was just looking to relocate and whatever.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. With mixed results.
Mhm. I'm
I
glad
think
people are.
I think Paul should go ahead and look at these new applications and go forth and do what he needs to do to whittle them down for us.
I am, Pat. I'm
Okay.
doing reference checks.
Okay, good.
Man after my own heart. Wow.
I do have one thing. The Pines Community Center has lost.
Mike.
The Pines Community Center has lost Brittany.
Whoa.
Yeah. And her last day is coming up directly this coming weekend. She's like through to the 1st or whatever. They're having on Saturday between 12 and 2 a little thank you very much thing over there. And it's a positive thing. She's expanding her horizons in the field. And, I wish she wasn't leaving, but congratulations to her.
Oh, she's a huge loss.
Yeah.
But I-
Yeah.
Wish her all the best.
Yeah. She's done well down there.
She's done exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
In my
She
years
started
here,
up as
she has
a-
done exceptional.
Attendee. right? She was a,
At one time, yeah.
she attended there, and then she got to be, I think, like a counselor, and then
Yep.
Well, she got
director.
it.
And
I mean, she really got it.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah. She's going into the same field, just a different position.
wow.
Hard pressed to replace her.
I'm not sure what, I'm sure the process is ongoing now, but I have a hard, I was on the council. I haven't been attending the meetings and voting because I feel like there's a potentially conflict of interest with my position here and my position there. And so I just sit back. At some point in the future, I will probably do it again. But, and I will say to anybody who's out there listening, the Tilton Northfield Recreational Council, which is the supervising Pines entity, has a distinct lack of Tilton members on it. So if you're interested, contact the Pines and they'll tell you when the meetings are, and you can go and see if it's something for you. But it's a good place.
Um, excuse me, John.
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
This is Tim. You had asked earlier about other encumbrances, and I brought it up at the last meeting, but didn't push on it. But I just thought I would just readdress it now in case the board did want to do something. But if you recall from your meeting with the boards and commissions, there was a discussion about uh, contracting with a new website provider. And Nate and I had gone through the process of reviewing the two most popular ones that are designed for municipalities, and we elected to that we both felt as though one of them in particular was more appropriate for us, and about half the cost up front and about a quarter of the cost ongoing, and that was the Revise. Company. They're out of Michigan, and it's a $4,000 first year, $1,500 per year thereafter. We own the data. We can download it anytime. We can, I mean, it provides, the majority of things that all municipal websites provide, and in a fluid, more updated format. So I just thought I would bring that up. This was something the board had discussed. I know you haven't seen the proposal itself, but and if I'm sure we could find $4,000 during the year if it became a hot button again. But I just thought I would bring it up in case the board wanted to discuss it further.
I do have a question, Tim. Will we be the administrator, or do changes have to go through a company in Michigan in order to be instituted?
No, we would be the ones through permission. It's a permission based templating system.
So you would have the permission, and then the town can make the updates as necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And I
Would
would,
the
Why
other
do
thing,
we need this change?
Well, and I'm just this was the whole reason for investigating was because of the feedback the board had received from your meetings with the I believe it was from the first meeting with the Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and Zoning Board. I did not have the chance to watch that meeting, but that was the takeaway from that. The board had asked me to start that activity and incorporate Nate in helping to do the evaluations, and so that's what we had done. So I'm just bringing it back up again. It's not something that has to be done, but I just thought if the board wanted to discuss it further, you'd have an opportunity to still do it out of 23 money.
I would say that the feedback that we received from the boards and commissions and from people around town and my own experience, the website that we use now is not necessarily intuitive. One thing does not lead to another automatically. You have to it takes a while to find things on that website. If anything, I'm just hopeful that it would be easier for the residents and the board members to navigate and find the information that they need. That's my thought.
I guess I'm just used to using it because I don't find that the only problem is land use.
Thank you.
That's a little convoluted. Land use is convoluted. Not because of land use, but on the website,
No,
that one important piece
trying
is
to find
convoluted.
tax maps and
Right. But the rest of it, there's a lot of information on our
There is.
website.
there
And
is.
most municipal websites, if you look at them, don't have the amount of information readily accessible to the public
No.
like we do.
And I can navigate it just fine after hit and miss and trial and error and years of practice, but not everybody can do that.
No, but on the other hand, having that much information is going to make it a little convoluted for some people. But I just don't see the need of spending more money when we have, for me, a little piece that needs to be fixed.
Well, if I may, I can, send out, uh, examples of what these sites would look like. And also maybe what we could do is also take a look at what, do some type of survey to find out what is the most confusing and see if we can fix some of the things in our current site. So, we can take that sort of activity forward. And then, I don't think it's going to be difficult to scrape together the money to be able to do it if you do elect during the year that you want to make that move. So it just was sort of in the back of my mind as the discussion was brought up about encumbrances. So,
So we don't need to worry about it now, right?
No,
No, thanks for keeping it in
no.
mind. In any samples of what it would look like or other web pages, if you can send it over, and then we can
But
ask
we
some
can
questions.
also encumber the money. We can also encumber the money. And then if we don't, if the board chooses not to make that change, we
And
don't need to make that change.
don't we need a contract to encumber money?
obligation, but we're going to have the typical money left over in that budget will have $4,000.
We'll have $4,000 if we decide in March or April that no, this is worth the money and we should go forward. I can't believe we wouldn't have $4,000.
Which,
History is my guide here.
thank you. Makes
Are
sense.
you accepting public comment?
Yes.
Yeah, I was at that meeting, and this is Chuck Mitchell. Um, I didn't think there was overwhelming comments negative about the website. I know there were one or at least one person, if not more, but not a majority that were complaining about the website. I think that overall, website administrator, and I know who that is, I think he's doing a fine job. I can use it fine. And I agree with Joe that in an inexperienced user that doesn't know where to go, it's not necessarily totally intuitive for every piece of information. I have been a resident long enough and used it long enough that I know how to find what I want, where I want, and when I want. So I don't have a problem with it. So I'm not disagreeing with Catherine. I'm not sure we need a new one right now, but we do need to maybe make some corrections on some areas. Thank you.
Absolutely right.
Thank you, Chuck. Well said.
Very well said.
Anything?
There was
Oh.
one last thing that Pat wanted to put, I believe, on the agenda tonight was Selectmen's reports, which we didn't have a folder for. So we might want to think about that for the January 4th.
Oh, they should be on this was about encumbrances and that Caleb Hill thing.
Yeah.
And Helen.
And
the
Helen.
moderator.
And that was it.
Yeah.
So
So-
they're not on tonight, but
They're
virtually
usually there every week on the agenda.
every other,
Oh, okay, I didn't,
yeah,
right, good,
every other meeting we
Good.
have.
good.
Joe, did you have anything else?
I do. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Me.
I got
Aye.
a party to finish. Helen goes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Chuck.
Get well soon. There,
Thank you, Tim.
Oh,
yes,
you're
Chuck.
welcome. Hey, Paul,